Hello and welcome to my channel. This is going to be the first episode of my official review. I haven't done one of these at all. I planned on doing it the past few weeks of my previous hauls, but unfortunately I couldn't get to it on time. But now as I was able to finish all my books on time, I do have a list on my phone of the books in the order that I rated them in. I'm going to be doing a letter rating instead of a number one. I feel like with letters it's easier than with numbers, because with numbers you sometimes do like a 0.5 or whatever. I think with letters it makes more sense because obviously C, passing grade, B, A, obviously better. I think if it's C, that doesn't mean it's horrible. It means it's passable. It means you can read it. D and F, those are the ones where I'm like, I think you should stay away. C, it's on the fence. C plus, it's like you should aim towards picking it up. C minus is probably like, you're close to failing. Maybe you shouldn't pick it up. So I have 22 books on my left. I'm going to go from worst to best. I'm not going to try to go on it too deeply just because I can gap and I'm going to be talking for like an hour if I go in it and tell you exactly what happened for the book. So I'm going to paraphrase it. I'll give you the best, summary of the book with spoilers, because at this point the book's been out for like almost a week. So spoilers, warning. Let's start off with issue number 22, number 22, which this week, unfortunately, it was Green Lantern issue number 35. This is written by Jeremy Adams with art by I.G. Guara and Montos. Montos used to do Green Lantern. I was worried about this book because I really thought that I was worried because after the Intergalactic Slam during DCKO, which was kind of like a focus on Kyle Rayner, I saw the direction they were heading at, and by there I mean Jeremy Adams, and it looks like he's trying to do like a little humorous route with Kyle Rayner. So instead of making him a little bit more of a serious character, but kind of doing like the humor of being in LA, the humor of being part of the acting industry, all of that, through Odyssey, who's like a supporting cast member here. This issue felt a little bit more generic. I know it's trying to like do some commentary on like social commentary, specifically here about like plastic surgery and stuff, but it doesn't hit the way that it should hit. It feels kind of like them reprimanding you instead of kind of giving you like a good example. For some reason they want to get rid of Odyssey's like scar on her face, her little tattoo. She knows you can't get rid of it, but they want to send her to this like surgeon that apparently is like super good at removing stuff. And we find out that the surgeon is actually working with this alien race that looks like bugs, and whenever he gives them like a facelift, or I guess facial reconstruction, they look like humans. So Kyle is the one that kind of stops them, and you can see here, like, this is one of the creatures. That's their human form. And then when they get out of their human form, they be looking like this. Very crazy. So that's majority of the story. And then after that, we do get a little bit of a glimpse of what Hal's doing with Jaina. And it looks like they're going to end up meeting Emperor Aquaman next issue, which should be good because Emperor Aquaman has the other half of the Wonder Twins. So we'll see a resolution in that aspect of the storyline. And Emperor Aquaman is also written by Jeremy Adams, so it makes sense that these books are going to cross over. But yeah, talking back about this book, I was disappointed. I thought the plot was interesting, but then the way that they handled it was kind of boring. Really like a one-off story where it's just them trying to figure out like who's giving plastic surgery to these aliens, and like, how can we stop him? And they take care of him pretty fast. And it's kind of like a lesson for Odyssey to like not change who she is or change her appearance, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. So I understand the theme, I understand the message. I just thought it was a little boring, to be honest. And the art, I was not a big fan of either. I feel like it doesn't look like a flagship book, and I think this book is a flagship book, right? They should treat it as such, especially with Lanterns coming out in the summer. They should really put an investment on who the artist is and everything, because we used to have Zermanico on art, and Zermanico used to be so good. I think he's taking a break because he did a little bit of DCKO, but hopefully he returns back to the series, because I do think we're missing that flagship artist. We did get Montos, and I do love Montos' art. He used to do Green Arrow in the past, but it was very brief. Let me see. Like, I can't even find it because it's that brief. But when he did the art in this issue, it looked really good. Let me find it. Like, this is Montos, and you can tell that it's very different from the one I just showed you. His kind of looks a little bit more realistic. But yeah, regardless, unfortunately, it just wasn't a good issue for me. it had humor that didn't land. I thought the plot was kind of boring as well. And I think I'm done with this series. Like, I gave it a shot. One issue out of the three impressed me. The other three issues, which one was the introductory issue and the Galactic Slam, they were not for me. So unfortunately, Green Lantern 35 for me gets a D plus, and that's my number 22. So I will be dropping it, unfortunately. Yeah, it just didn't hook me how I was hoping it would hook me. Next is number 21, and that is Void Rivals issue number 30. This is the last part of the Quintesson War. So it goes as how we imagined. They end up losing the Quintesson War. The Quintessons end up taking over Derek's and Solila's planet, or I guess civilization. Derek was actually about to die in the last issue. He got sent to this like vat of water with his dad, and they were gonna drown. In the first couple of pages, he actually ends up getting saved by Solila. But what they didn't know, and this all happens in like the first couple of pages, is that there's these like, I want to say like kind of robo sharks or something that's chasing them, and one of them ultimately ends up getting Derek's dad right in front of him, as you can see here. It's not as gruesome as it sounds, but he ends up getting chopped up. After that, they meet up with Zerda, and Zerda is basically like, hey, I can get involved, but I've tried this before. They're gonna beat me. Like, in order to beat the Quintessons, we need another like round of Autobots. Like, we need extra support. So I need you guys to reach out to my crew, like the Autobots, and for you to get them here so we can save your planet. And the only way to do that is to hitch a ride with Pythona, I believe her name is Pythona, and her sister. They have a ship that apparently like doesn't get recognized by the Quintessons, so they end up hitching a ride with them. And at the end, because Derek, after his dad gets killed, he's pretty much silent for the entire issue, and towards the end he kind of snaps out of his like I guess depression, and he's like, you know what, we need to get the Autobots. Like, we need to do what Serta says. That's the only way to save our planet and save our civilizations. Yeah, so that was pretty much the issue. And that's literally the cliffhanger. Like, I'm not even lying to you. It sounds as boring as it was, and I think that was my problem with the issue. This is supposed to be part 6 of 6, right? Whenever Robert Kirkman would do The Walking Dead, the last issue of the story arc was always something crazy. But I feel like this one, and even ending in this specific panel, it's such a bummer because we had 6 issues to build up into the war, and it makes sense. The way that it ends makes sense, right? I didn't expect them to beat the Quintessons, but it just felt so boring. Like, I was expecting higher stakes. Within the first couple of pages, they get you. With the person they kill off, it makes sense, right? You're like, whoa, edge of my seat kind of thing. But then when you start getting towards the second half of the book, it really slows down. And unfortunately, for a finale of a story arc, that is disappointing. So that's why this is on the lower half. It's not a bad issue, but it really doesn't do a lot in the grand scheme of things, right? It kind of leads the characters to where we knew they were going to go. And honestly, it just didn't feel like the ending of a big story arc, like how they build it. So this is my number 21, and I give Void Rivals a C-. Doesn't mean that I'm dropping the series. I still enjoy it. I just thought it was a weak part of the storylines. Next is issue number 20. I'm sorry, number 20, not issue number 20. It's number 20, and it's X-Men issue number 30. This was the ending of the Danger Room story arc. So if you guys haven't been reading the series, the X-Men have been getting targeted by this group. I think it's 3K. And their plan was to destroy them methodically, right? Like, they were supposed to separate them, and one by one they were gonna destroy them. So they took care of Psylocke by tricking them that John Greycrow, I think is his name, her love interest, that he was dead. So she went to save him, and while she was saving him with Zorn, they thought they had exploded their ship. And then with Quentin Quire and Edie, who I believe her name is Tempest, they were pushed to the limit because someone had shot Blob? I think his name is Blob. Or is it Glob? The pink big thing, right? The one that looks like Jello. Glob, I think, is his name. So someone shot Glob, and they were losing it because, they thought it was like a civilian of the city of Alaska, like where they're stationed. So they were losing it because they've been trying to make relations between them and the civilians better. So them kind of turning on them, or them thinking that one of them shot Glob, kind of turned them on them. And they were starting to lose control. Magneto calms them down, and then Psylocke, she ends up not dying from that explosion, and with John Grey Crow and Zorn, they're able to save the rest of the team from the danger room, right? So that's pretty much it. Nothing really happened. And let me show you a little bit of the art, because the art is the good part of the book, I would say. We do get some good art, specifically right here. This is Psylocke saving the team from 3K and making sure that, she shows them her power. And that's pretty much it. Like, yeah, nothing really much happens now that I'm looking through it. Yeah. It sounds underwhelming, and that's how it really was. It was underwhelming. Nothing was really happening. The art, I will say, I do like. It's very similar to Ryan Stegman, so it does feel grand for like a flagship book, and that's what this is. It's a flagship book. So the art is good, but the story is very boring. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's something that we knew wasn't gonna have an impact, and it sucks because Age of Revelation was then like the biggest thing that's happened in this book in the past few months, and then the next big thing is DNX, right? So everything in between has felt like filler, and I know that's not what they're aiming to do, but unfortunately that's what's happening, and I hate that that's the case, because this is a flagship book, right? It's supposed to be good. It's supposed to be trying to catch our attention on a monthly basis, but it just hasn't for me. Not in a while. It's good. I like the characters, but it's just not doing anything new, right? I feel like we're just running in circles. This whole 3K thing should have been handled a while ago. And the fact that a team like this, like an experienced team of X-Men, getting so frazzled and like confused by sneak attacks like that, it is a little disappointing. I know they gotta make them vulnerable and make them not so strong, so it makes sense that we're getting story arcs like this, but I'm just not living. It's not my favorite like direction for the X-Men for sure. Hopefully DNX does a lot of crazy things and we get back on board, but I am not a fan of the direction of the X-Men right now, unfortunately. So X-Men number 30, to me, I believe it's a C minus. Let me check. Yeah, it's a C minus, and it's my number 20. Let me go faster because we got to get to the books. So next is Red Roots, issue number 2. This is my number 19. I gave this a C. Yeah, this one is also a little bit disappointing. From what it was advertised, so the little glimpses that we got, it looked like it was going to deal with this serial killer who apparently had linkage to this completely like I want to say like innocent person, and we kind of see this here, the innocent person being that teacher that was looking at the heads and was having all those visions in the previous issue. Well, this issue, as we saw in the last issue, she kind of gets saved by this gladiator looking creature. I don't even know what he is. So she gets taken to his world, which is like underground, the Red Roots, and she meets this other guy right here who I believe we saw in the last issue. He was going through like a murder rampage, and he's pretty beat up, so they have to take him to get cured by someone in the village, and he ends up using the Red Roots to cure him. And you see the world building in this series in those couple of like panels, which the art makes it look good. Like, that's not the bad part of it. I do think visually it is a good book, and you can see this 2 like page spread right here that shows you the level of art. So the art is good, but it really feels like it's not much horror, but so much more as like a sci-fi kind of thing, which I'm not that interested in, to be honest. I thought this was going to be like a horror book, and it was going to be about murder and like a mystery like that, and the mystery here is not as how I thought. This is very out there. It's more so like sci-fi. There's other things as well, and it's just not my cup of tea, right? I know other people might enjoy it, and it's a good series. There's nothing bad about it, but the mystery that is being displayed for me is not something that's grabbing my attention, unfortunately. And with so many books that I'm picking up, I just can't be reading stuff that really hasn't, done something for me. Like, I don't feel anything when I read this, and I should be excited for the next issue, and I'm not. So I gave this a C, and it was my number 19. I'm going to go by faster, so get ready, guys. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the time, and I'm like, okay, I got to go fast. Next is my number 18, and that is Spiroversity issue number 2. This is apparently a miniseries, which makes sense. I thought it was an ongoing, but apparently it's a miniseries. So we kind of get more information about Spider Versity here. We see more of what Norman Osborn is planning, and it looks like he might have a trick under his sleeve, like that the kids are not really paying attention to. This issue is very by the books. One of his, like, I don't even know what they're called, the robots that he's using for training. A couple of them end up losing control in the campus. For some reason, they're in a campus now. I don't know if that was established in issue number one, but in this issue, it's very heavy implied that like they're staying on a campus. They're kind of having like the college life, and it doesn't make sense because like Silk is the age of Peter, and I'm pretty sure Gwen is the same age as well. Miles makes sense, and the kids, like, why are the kids in university? It just, like, that whole concept of things makes no sense. It looks like they're trying to commit to the whole concept of like, oh, they're in a university, but like, why? That's not being addressed here. I guess the why is like, oh, they're trying to train them, right? But like, why do they have to make him act like kids? And I think that's my problem with the series. A lot of these characters feel out of character, especially the older ones. I don't think Miles, Silk, or Spider Gwen should be in this team. It doesn't make sense, but I guess you need the big names to attract them, right? Because I'm sure Spider Girl and Spider Boy are not as popular as I think they are. So yeah, unfortunately, it's just not something that makes sense to me. I'm not really feeling it like that. Issue number one was good because we got to see them work, and this issue is pretty much the same. Like they're teaming up, they're getting pushed to the limit, and that's cool for characters that we don't know anything about. Again, like Spider Boy and Spider Girl. But yeah, this feels like it really undermines Miles, Silk, and Spider Gwen, right? They should not be part of this team. This doesn't do them any justice because they faced so much more in the past that like makes them capable. That you telling me, oh, they're not capable, doesn't make any sense. So I don't like this. I feel like it's a little bit of a regression for some of these characters. It's interesting if you like take a step back and you're like, oh, I just want to see them in school, and that's what you want, then this book is for you. But I don't get it. I don't understand why they're in school. I personally would be more interested in like a solo book for like, you know, Jazz, Miles, and Cindy, Silk. But the fact that they're being crumbled together and they're being forced to work as a team doesn't make sense. They're really trying to make them the Bat Family, and the connection isn't there. So I gave this a C, and this was my number 18. Next is number 17, and it's Wiccan and Hulkling, Raid of Ultron, issue number 1. This is the Pride book of the month for Marvel, which makes sense. They've been really promoting Wiccan ever since The Witch's Road and the Wiccan series, or the Agatha Harkness, the Disney Plus series, right? Ever since then, they've been promoting Wiccan. He just had a miniseries that was written by Wyatt Kennedy. I believe that's the writer here. And he has another story here. I believe he actually writes the main overarching story. So this is following up right from Wyatt Kennedy's Wiccan run, the one that just ended. It continues from then, defeating Baba Yaga. They basically get awarded this house that they're staying in, and they throw an open house. Is that what they call it? Yeah, they throw an open house for the families and like their friends to come in and visit them. And you can see that here, like Wanda's there, the Vision, Biv, I think I forgot her name, but she's Teddy's half sister, Speed, you know, Uncle, Quicksilver. All of them show up. And then Ultron comes in to attack because he's, I guess, quote unquote, kind of family as well, because he essentially is Vision's dad. And yeah, they get all in like different dimensions because they're trying to push the Ultron army away. And we see the story of them as it's focused in between like different characters, right? The first mini story is Speed and Wiccan. The second one is Hulkling and his sister, and then the third one is Vision and his daughter, right? And we see their different perspectives on pride and all of that. And for some of them, it's interesting, and different writers handle these stories. Like, I personally really enjoyed the Vision and Biv one. I think that was my favorite, both artistically and, like, written, like, the story-wise. Just because Biv was questioned to the entire party, like, where's, you know, her partner or whatever. And I think, from what I remember, it was previously implied that she is, lesbian and that she has a girlfriend, and this issue pretty much confirms it. And she tells her dad like, oh, I do have a partner, but she's a woman, and it doesn't get treated like a big deal, which makes sense because it's not a big deal. But yeah, I thought it was like a strong moment for her to kind of just be like, dad, this is what I'm doing, and for him to be so supportive. I enjoy that story the most. The Wiccan and the Hulkling ones, they were just cheese, to be honest. Like, honestly, they were very, I don't want to say cringy, but they fell on a lot of like tropes that LGBT stories do that I feel like we pummel to the ground at this point with every anthology we get on a yearly basis. But yeah, I mean, if you enjoy these characters, you're gonna have a good time. It's not groundbreaking, like they're not doing anything crazy, and some stories here, like, I don't think are worth it. Tegan and Sarah, or Tegan from Tegan and Sarah, writes the Wiccan and Speed team up, and I'm gonna be honest, no offense to her, no shade, it was definitely the weakest story out of the bunch because she was for some reason trying to deal with like modern tropes and dating and trying to make it seem like that. Speed was written kind of annoying throughout the whole story that she wrote, but it is what it is. I think as a compilation, this to me gets a C, and it's my number 17. So not bad, but nothing incredible either. I know these books seem low, right? Like 16 or whatever, but they're getting C's, so they're good, but they're not like great, right? So that just means that we had a lot of good books this week. The fact that they're getting C's and they're in the bottom. Next is my number 16, and that is Capes, issue number 7. This is a new jumping on point for Capes. This is written by Benito Serrano and art by Englert. I don't know who the artist is. Let me look at it. Robert Kirkman, Mark Englert is the artist. Robert Kirkman is also the writer, but he's more so kind of like planning the plots, and Benito is the one that does the dialogue. So Benito Serrano, he's been doing Blood and Thunder for Image. If you haven't read that book, read it. It's really good. It's kind of similar in vein to this one, at least with the tone. So he's a great writer for this. I liked it. I didn't know what I was expecting. I kind of bought it for the first appearance of Elemental, and we do get that for a little bit. But what this is about, it takes place during the Bolshevik War. Invincible and his family, they're out of the world, and then the Guardians of the Galaxy, no, the Guardians of the Globe, they are being spread too thin by the Order, so we're focused on Capes, and Capes is pretty much like Heroes for Hire in a way. I think that would be the best way to explain it. It's like the lower tier heroes that are doing local work, right? So they're not considered like Superman or that level of caliber, right? But they're dependable, and they do a lot of the day-to-day like crime solving. So it focuses on them. Bolt is our main character. It focuses on like an issue he had with his recent battle where he caused a lot of mayhem, and specifically like new construction got destroyed in the process, and he's being blamed for that. And we know that people like Superman would never get questioned for that kind of stuff, right? Because that's so not like below him, but in a way he wouldn't deal with that, right? But unfortunately, because this is a smaller hero, he has to deal with those consequences, and you see that in this book. So he gets sent to the night shift with, I forgot his name, is it called Super Bowl? This is Super Bowl. And the night shift is essentially like the shift that nobody wants, because you don't do anything, you're not in the limelight, a lot of the crime is being taken care of by the big names, so you just pretty much are chilling, and nobody gets away from the night shift, right? Because it's kind of like bad for your reputation and bad for your image. So he's doing his best to leave the night shift, and at the end he comes across one of his buddies from the Capes crew who ends up apparently dying, right? And we don't know who killed him. So interesting. I mean, we do get a glimpse of Elemental as well. Nothing too much from her. It's told on a separate story in the back. The art for her story I thought was really good, but it really is like a 3-page thing where it just introduces you to her. So I'm assuming within the next couple of issues we're going to get more of her backstory in the end. I thought it was good. I do think if you're trying to get like a Invincible story or Invincible comic, then definitely Battle Beast is the way to go. I do think that one is more in line with what Invincible is. That also has like Ryan Ottley on art, so it's like very, very similar to Invincible. But this one, it does a great job as well. The art, while it's not done by Ryan Ottley, it's very similar to Ryan Ottley-esque, I would say. And the writing was good. I liked it. I thought Benito makes sense. The way that he writes Blood and Thunder makes sense for this book, and this is more so like the like the Batman of the Invincible Universe, I guess you could say, or something similar like that. It's more grounded for sure. It's not dealing with like intergalactic things. It's dealing more with like local crime. So if you like that sort of thing, then definitely this book is for you. I thought the story and the plot were good, but it wasn't doing anything to like pull me in and say I have to pick this, every month. So I might give the next issue a try, but for now I gave this a C plus, and this is Capes issue number 7. Next is issue number 15. That's Corpse Night, issue number 2. We get a quicker issue for this one. I believe this is only a 5 or 6 issue miniseries, so the plot moves fast here. Like, it really does. So Foy and her dad, they come across this village, or let me see. No. So what happens in this issue, they're trying to find Joan of Arc, and they come across this person, and this person tells them, oh, Joan of Arc was over there. The quickest way to get there is through the woods, and the woods has these monsters that you have to worry about, so I don't recommend you going through there. But because they need to find Joan of Arc to cure, the dad, basically, of this like illness that he has, or it's not really an illness, but death. He has died in the past. So to cure him of death, they need to meet Joan of Arc, and they don't have much time. So they go through the woods. There, they get separated because they get attacked by those creatures. Foy ends up getting separated, and she ends up falling from this little hill. She ends up meeting this kid along the way, who's been captured by this villain. I forgot what they name him, right? But this is the villain that captures the kid, and now Foy and the kid are being chased by him, and as they're escaping him, they come across Corpse Night, and they see him battered, right? Like, he's been going through it. We did see him kind of meet with some of the people, like the civilians from there, and they kind of battered him up a little as well after he fought the creatures. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, it moves by fast. It introduces you to the villain. I'm assuming that the next couple of issues are gonna deal with Foy and the dad escaping this villain. Like, I do think this is going to be the main adversary for this book, whoever he is. So I'm assuming they're going to spend the next couple of issues in this village, and then they'll meet Joan of Arc, which should be the conclusion of this book. So it sets up the plot nicely. Like, you know what to expect. You're going to see some battles between them, like Foy and her dad against this villain, which I forget his name. I don't know if they tell you right here. The White Mask is what they call him? Yeah. I guess they call him the White Mask. So the White Mask is the big villain, and we'll see them take on him. Honestly, this book, visually, it's a masterpiece, as you can see from these pages. The coloring, everything about it, visually, is stunning. But the writing is a little bit too fast this time around. I do think it just moves from one plot to the other. You don't even capture that they get separated through that whole fight against the monsters. Like, this is where he gets attacked by these creatures. And during that whole fight, the daughter kind of like falls and she disappears, right? And you don't even clock that. Like, you don't recognize that until the next couple of pages. So everything moves fast. And I understand it's a mini series, so they want to get as much as they can with each issue. But unfortunately, like, it just does feel way too fast. And hopefully next issue it kind of slows down. I prefer this book when we get more emotional moments between the dad and the daughter, and here we didn't get as many as the previous issue. So I gave this issue of Corpse Night a B-, and it was my number 15. Visually stunning. The story just has to slow down a little bit for sure, just for my taste. But I didn't know that apparently Michael Shaves, the writer of this, was one of the creators of The Conjuring. So I do think that whatever he's writing here definitely has a lot of potential to be potentially a movie down the line. So hopefully that happens. But I like it. I like what they're building. It just went by a little too fast for me. Next is Justice League issue number 19. This is my number 14. So this issue, we pretty much continue with that whole Amnesty Act that have imposed the CKO. The people are getting used to the villains working with the Justice League. A lot of people are not accepting it just because they don't understand why. And some of these villains are also claiming that they have amnesty and forgiveness from the Justice League when that's not the case. So in this issue, pretty much Lex Luthor kind of acts as like the person promoting this whole partnership. He's making sure that the media and the people understand that this is coming from a good place, that a lot of these villains are trying to reform themselves, and if they're not, the Justice League would stop him. And in a way, he provides PR, like really good PR through this whole process, and he kind of like eases the humans and the people in the earth that this whole partnership is not as bad as people are making it seem. And the art is great because we get Dan Mora back on art. Just a pretty standard issue. Like, it really just drills the fact that a lot of villains are now being members of the Justice League, and that's kind of the big plot of the issue. At the end, I know that this cover promises Queen Brainiac, but we don't get her to literally the last page. And for some reason, that Airwave character, the one that got introduced with this book, once again, he's the reason why a big villain comes in, because he all of a sudden spazzes out and becomes Queen Brainiac. So not sure why he's like the main catalyst of all these things, because he was the one that kind of brought Darkseid in the first time around. So once again, he causes another issue, and now Queen Brainiac is here. I'm not familiar with Queen Brainiac at all. I'm assuming she's literally just like Brainiac, so we'll see what she brings to the table. But I wasn't as surprised. I mean, I hate bait and switches. I hate when they do this, because this literally should have been the cover for next issue, because she's going to be in the next issue. So that's why I was a little disappointed. I really was expecting her here, but we didn't. But we'll still get her next issue, so hopefully something happens there. But yeah, this book was pretty much like PR to show that the villains working with the Justice League is good. So very standard, nothing crazy, nothing that's reinventing the wheel. So I gave this a B-, and it was my number 14. Next is my number 13, and this is King Spawn, issue number 55. This was actually fun. I know it looks like it's lower because it's number 13, but I did enjoy my time reading all the books that I rated like B- and above. This one included. So we continue from the events of the last issue of Spawn, right? So this takes I think a year later after the last issue. So essentially after the final battle, heaven and hell cease to exist. Like, that doesn't exist anymore, and now people have lost faith. The people who believed in heaven or hell, now they feel like there's nothing to live for, right? If they were being good in the present because they were hoping to live in heaven, that whole like purpose and that whole motivation is not there anymore. So a lot of these people, they're turning to crime. The earth and the world has suddenly descended because there's nothing to really live for, right? So a lot of people are going crazy. Robberies at an all-time high. Spawn has disappeared, so he hasn't been there in like a year or so. So we see the kid who we saw in the previous issue. I believe his name is Henry. I think his name is Henry. Or Hudson. I believe his name is Hudson. Yes. So this is Hudson. He was a kid from the previous issue in the cliffhanger where he had like a vision of the world ending or whatever. So I guess his vision has come true, and now he's living in this like post-apocalyptic world. He's trying to get Spawn to show up because he thinks Spawn is the only person that can save the world. And throughout this issue, you can see like how much the world has descended to the point that even he's committing crime, and you see it here. Like, he becomes a person in this whole robbery of this ambulance situation. And yeah, pretty much that's the whole issue. At the end, he gets visited by Spawn, and we get Spawn finally, right? And we're gonna see where this next issue goes. I think it might be continued in King Spawn. I will show you the panel. Spoilers abound, but here it is, and you see Spawn here. Yeah, so pretty standard. You get caught up with what's been going on. You get a glimpse of what's to come. I liked it for what it was, to be honest. I thought it was good. Story, I enjoyed. I'm not a big fan of the art. I'm not going to lie to you. I am not a huge fan of the art at all. I don't know how old this kid is supposed to be, but look at like this page. He looks like he's 50 plus, right? Very battered. I don't know if that was the whole point. There's some artists that cannot draw kids, and if this takes place right after this vision, he's probably just 1 year older, so he's not an adult. But yeah, they made him look crazy throughout this whole series, like he aged or something. With the art was definitely not the strong suit here. There's some panels that are good. Like, I like how Spawn looks at the end, but he also looks very kinky for some reason. I don't know, very leather based, kind of scary. It doesn't feel like a superhero skin or costume. Kind of looks a little freaky, but we'll see what happens with next issue. Regarding the story, I enjoyed it. I'm actually on board for what's to come in Spawn, but the art, I do wish we got something a little bit different. So for King Spawn, I gave this a B minus, and it was my number 13. So I'll go fast. I'm gonna try to make this under an hour, and right now we're at the halfway point. So next is my number 12, and that is the Tana issue number 2. Standard issue with Zatanna as well. We continue that whole story arc with her trying to find a home for the demon, I guess. That last issue we find more of a backstory for that demon this time around. So we knew that the demon had something to do with music, and we understand why now. So apparently he's like a muse demon. He used to live in this mansion where this singer lived, and the singer had such a wonderful, beautiful voice that once she died and passed away, the demon kind of was mourning her, and the demon suddenly lost control, and that's why he's been targeting singers and like I think singers. He's been targeting singers and these different like planets or whatever, and killing them in the process. So we get more of a backstory here. Yeah, and that's honestly pretty much it. We just get Zatanna visiting some friends that I'm sure were established in the previous Jamal Campbell miniseries. So visually, it's beautiful. Like here, we see her meet one of her friends who's a ghost, and she used to be a singer, because she's like a way to lure in that demon and stuff. So yeah, I thought it was good. We're still dealing with the supporting cast, and this is kind of setting up the big, I guess, the big adversary for this series, and it looks like it's gonna be Agent Demains, the one with that mask that looks like a smiley face. So we'll see. I thought it was pretty standard, nothing crazy. Art, obviously, it's beautiful. I mean, Jamal Campbell is doing the art, so you get some of the best pages in comics for sure. And everything looks so good. I'm trying to find something like this page that I showed you. This looks so good. There's a lot going on, but Jamal Campbell just makes it look so beautiful. I don't know. Like, I know it looks crazy, but it looks so beautiful if you really look into it. So art, beautiful book. Writing, I think the story could be better, but I know we're just establishing the characters, we're establishing the plot. So it's ambitious, but I think it could definitely be more immersive. I think it's taking into consideration that you read the previous run, but not a lot of us have. So I do wish it was a little bit more new reader friendly in that front, but at the same time, it's not like I'm lost or anything. It's just that I do wish that I knew some of the context and some of these characters that are being thrown at me. So I enjoyed it. I still had a fun time reading it. I gave that a B minus, and it was my number 12. Next is my number 11, and that is High Street, issue number 12. This was another fun read. It's always fun to have High Street back. I like the art in this book specifically. It's from Ivan Reis and Joe Prado, who used to do Justice League in the past. So this issue deals with the Butcher. So the Butcher is this creature that has been imprisoned in Hyde Street because of the risk that he puts not only to the people that can come across Hyde Street, but also the citizens of Hyde Street, right? The killers who are trying to get freed. And Pranky, who's the person right here, he's been tricked by the Butcher. He's been shown a vision of his mom, and Pranky believes that the Butcher can grant him his mom back, right? So he basically convinces Pranky to let him out of his prison, which Pranky does. And like right from the get-go, we see the Butcher betray Pranky. And you can see that here, which is crazy. And once he does that, he all of a sudden turns his focus on the scorekeeper, which is like the person that is in charge of Hyde Street, but specifically the citizens of Hyde Street as well, right? So like we're wondering, why is he doing that? Why is he taking care of the killers? He might have a good reason to, right? But I didn't even know that the killers, I guess the quote unquote citizens, killers of Hyde Street, I didn't know they could be taken off. So we see that it's a possibility because once the Butcher of Hyde Street, pierces through Pranky, we see his number go up, right? So you're like, oh no, what is he gonna do now? Now that he's freed, he's probably gonna try to clear the list, like clear every citizen. So he sets his sights to the lady who sells the weight loss supplements next, and that's gonna be our next battle, as we see here. And the cover for it makes a whole lot more sense now. Let me show you. Yeah, this is the cover of the next issue, And it makes sense because now she's gonna have to escape the butcher. It looks like the butcher's coming for her. And what's crazy is that she's only 1 kill away from getting freedom, right? So is she gonna get taken off? Like, is Mr. X-Ray gonna come and save her? Like, what's gonna happen? This book always manages to just wow me every single time it comes in. I do wish we have it at more of a consistent basis. We don't get it like every month. I think we get it like every 2 to 3 months, which is unfortunate because a lot of the time it feels like a big gap. But the plot and the overarching story is not complicated at all. It's very straightforward. So I think that really helps out a lot with remembering what happened last issue because it's not like something crazy happened, right? It's very straightforward. So yeah, I enjoy it every month we get it, and this month it was really good. I gave this a B, and it was my number 11. Okay, next is my number 10. We're in top 10 territory, and that is Detective Comics issue number 1109. This one deals more with Green Arrow, and it kind of has more of a focus with Green Arrow. We find out about Prion. Prion is the person who they were attending the funeral of, like Bruce, Dinah, and Ollie. And Prion was this person who came to work with Catman. Is that his name? I think it might be Catman. Back when Catman used to train Black Canary, right? So we find out about him. And there's this little girl who had pushed Ollie from like the top of the building he was in, and they're chasing her. And they notice that she's been trained and that she has like all these techniques or whatever, and she resembles this Prion character a lot, and there's some sort of connection there, right? Could it be Prion's daughter? Like, who is this little girl? And at the end, as she's escaping this interaction she had with Ollie and Batman, she ends up coming across Dinah at the end. And let me show you some of those pages. This is that little girl fighting Batman, and obviously with Mikkel Janin on board, you get some beautiful art. And then this is her meeting Dinah, which is pretty much the last page. I don't think it's anything crazy, and I did say spoilers, but yeah, she meets Dinah, and we're gonna see like what her connection is to this Prion character. So yeah, I thought it was fun. Very standard issue. This one has kind of a focus on Green Arrow, at least the first couple of pages, so that's fun to see, especially now that we don't have a Green Arrow story for the mainline universe, right? So it was fun. I'm enjoying the mystery that it's happening. It doesn't feel grand yet, but I like the characters that we're seeing, and I obviously like seeing Bruce work with Green Arrow and Black Canary. It's just a fun interaction between all of them. So I enjoyed this one this month. I gave this a B, and it was my number 10. Next is my number 9, and that is Infernal Hulk issue number 7. A lot of important and interesting plot lines were shown in this book. So if you guys didn't know, this is going to be like a 3-volume thing. This is the second volume. It's going to last till issue number 10. And then the last volume, which I'm sure will be like Philip Kennedy Johnson's like last volume with the Hulk. It's going to be grand in scheme because it's going to be like basically everyone fighting the Infernal Hulk. This is not going to be the end of it, right? So the reason why I say that, there's a lot that's outlined here that is going to come around in later issues. So essentially, here we find out that the Hulk has some sort of control over the X-Men because they're quote-unquote considered monsters by some people. So he could, if he wanted to, control them. And the X-Men notice that. They feel some sort of pull towards him, specifically like Blob, right? Or I'm sorry, Glob. I keep saying his name wrong. Is his name Glob? Yeah, his name is Glob. So specifically Glob, he feels some type of way about him. And he feels like he has some pull towards the Infernal Hulk, and the X-Men, they're all questioning why that is, and some of them are like, oh, maybe they consider us monsters, so that's why we feel so like such an urge to go after the Hulk. So people like Emma and other telepaths, they're kind of shielding them from the control of the Infernal Hulk, and at the end, the Infernal Hulk comes to Alaska, and he basically comes right to the front step of the X-Men. The X-Men fight him for a little bit, but they notice that Hulk is not really there for them. But like, not to kill them at least, but he has a specific mission, and that mission is to collect one specific X-Men. And at the end, and this is a plot twist, all of them are like, oh, where did Glob go? Like, he took Glob. Like, you can see that right here. And he honestly takes care of all of them. Like, he fights Cyclops, he fights Magic, he fights all of them. They don't, like, even scratch him at all. So the X-Men, they're kind of shaken back because they're like, whoa, like, we couldn't even dent him. So what's going on? Like, if we do have to fight him, we can't do anything. So they find out that Glob's taken, and the Avengers, while all of this is happening, they get a visit from Bruce Banner, right? So now he's joining the fray, and we'll see what he's capable of doing. But I thought this was good. I liked it. It deals a lot with the X-Men, which is great, and it makes sense why they're being added to this storyline, because it does make sense. People see them as monsters, so I like that connection. I thought, whoa, that really like makes sense. I love that. The art, on the other hand, if it was Nick Klein, I think this would have been a wonderful special issue. Obviously, this is filler art, and in like, I guess in theme and in like vibes, it's very similar to Nick Klein's, but obviously it's not as detailed and it doesn't give the same um, feeling as what Nick Klein's art does. So I liked it. I just thought we could have had probably better art or better guest artist while Nick Klein is doing the third volume. But regardless, I thought the issue was good. The story at hand is really interesting. So I gave this a B, and it was my number 9. We go to number 8, and that is the Ultimate issue number 24. This is the final issue of the Ultimate, and we have a great ending, to be honest. So we do tie some loose threads for sure. We tie some loose threads regarding Ant-Man and the Wasp, the betrayal that the Wasp had. There's a resolution here. We find out what happened with the Hulk, and that's what this whole issue really is about, is the Ultimates kind of taking their final stance against the Hulk. She-Hulk ends up freeing her people from the hold that Hulk had on her island, and we see that here. And then Shang-Chi, both of them, I forgot the kid's name, but Danny and the kid, they end up taking the fight to Hulk. And we see that there, where basically they kick out the Hulk from their dimension, because I think the Hulk had taken, I forgot what it's called. He's taken a hold of where they live, to that whole little location. So they expel Hulk of that area, and once Hulk lands in Earth and he fights She-Hulk, that's where like it really gets going, right? And it's a fierce battle. They kind of throw everything at him, and he does take a while to like take down, the Ant-Man and the Wasp both get involved. That's when Ant-Man forgives the Wasp, because as we know, the Wasp had betrayed the Ultimates in previous issues, and here she's trying to get an atonement, and she's trying to make up for what she did to them, and ultimately they're all able to defeat the Hulk as a force, and it gets very gory, and I don't know if I can show it, but yeah, the last page is gory for sure. But you can see here, She-Hulk and Hulk, they ultimately end up fighting till one of them dies, and She-Hulk ends up prevailing. And at the end is when they get the news that the city where the Maker was being imprisoned has come open, and now the Maker is out. And this leads up to Endgame issue number 5, which is to come, right? So I'm glad that it wasn't like a direct tie into Endgame, because if that happened, it probably was going to be bad. I'm glad we actually tied up the loose ends of the storylines that were going on in this book, because that's what I came to read, right? That's what we were compelled by. That's what we enjoyed. So I'm glad we got the ending for that. But unfortunately, it felt very fast. It felt like we were had to like tie it up as fast as we can. Not much emotion behind a lot of the things that happened, when I feel like it was major events and you probably wanted an issue or two to digest it. But I do understand they're not working with much time. Like, this has to end, especially if like Endgame is right around the corner. So I understand. It just feels like this series was done such an injustice, because it started so good, and all of a sudden now we do get I don't want to say a bad issue, because this wasn't a bad issue at all, but I feel like this series deserved better, and it deserved a better finale as well. Dennis Camp did what he could with this series, and thankfully he landed, and we got a great conclusion. But it could have been so much better, and that's so unfortunate, because I don't think it was Dennis Camp's fault or Juan Fergari. Marvel just ultimately decided to shaft this, and it was genuinely one of their best books that they had. So Let's pour one up for the Ultimates issue number 24. Great series. If you haven't read it, definitely pick it up and trade. This was my number 8, and I gave this a B. Okay, next is my number 7, and it's Doomquest issue number 1. I appreciate y'all commenting about this series. I was talking to one of my viewers about this on the comment section of my last video, and they said how much how good this book was, and they were not kidding. This book was so good, visually a masterpiece. They compare the art to Alex Ross's art, which, you know, now that they mention it, I do kind of see it, because the art is so crisp and it has this kind of like paint-like feel to it that I really enjoyed. But essentially, this is an out-of-continuity story. It has to deal with Doctor Doom, who's trying to figure out how to bring Liberia to the next level. And what he does is that he actually implements one of Reed Richards' plan that he talks about. And it's not really something that he plans on doing, but in this event, he talks about how if we end up doing time traveling, but rather than sending someone back in time, but rather they're, you know, instead of sending them physically, you send their mind. That way they have the knowledge of what to do and what to avoid in order to change the future. So Mr. Fantastic is like, you know what, that's something, you know, we could invest in, but at the same time, no one should have that power to change the future for everyone, right? So that's why I'm not pursuing this. But Dr. Doom is like, no, I'm going to pursue that because I can. And he ends up making a time machine. Ultimately, like the Avengers, the X-Men, everyone tries to come and stop him because, you know, they know that this could have some crazy repercussions. And at the end, because Johnny Storm betrays everyone for some reason, which is unexplained, we see that Dr. Doom has actually had his time traveling work. And for some reason, he ends up in the Titanic. So I love this issue. I love this whole setup as well. There's something so campy about Doctor Doom, right? I know I'm meant to take him serious because he's like supposedly one of the strongest villains in the Marvel Universe, but because he's so flip-floppy, like sometimes he wants to do good, sometimes he wants to do bad, there's a sense of camp to him. Even like the way that he talks, like, oh, I'm a royalty or whatever, like, yeah, I understand he's royalty, but he feels like a very traditional villain, and I love that. They don't joke around it like that here, but it does feel like he's very absurd, and I like that because this whole plot is absurd. I know it's supposed to be like, oh, you know, he's changing time, it's scary, but no, it feels fun because I know that at the end of the day, nothing's gonna happen, right? It's interesting using time travel because now he can go into these different events, and they're having fun with it because I mean, he's in the Titanic of all places, so they're having fun, and I can't wait to where this series goes. Ryan North has such a good voice for Doctor Doom, and it makes sense because he's been writing the Fantastic Four title for quite a while now, and he's doing it again. He is hitting it out the park, and I definitely enjoy this. This issue was my number 7, and I gave this a B+. Next is my number 6, and that is The Flash, issue number 3. Another series that feels kind of campy. I love the 90s Golden Age comic feel to this. It definitely adds a lot to the plot. And at the same time, when I say that, it might sound like I'm dragging it, like it's a little shady, but that's not the case. It feels like 90s comic in a good way, because I know a lot of the times 90s comics, they kind of felt absurd. They felt like caricatures. More so recently now, like modern comics, they're so much more serious. They deal with like more adult topics. Even the art is pushing the boundaries to where like the 90s never did. And we do miss that vibe of like the olden age, you know, the traditional comics, and this is what it's bringing. But this does it in like a modern twist, because this issue deals with him trying to hunt down a bomb, and yes, they could kind of have a comical spin on it, but they take it serious, and it does feel serious. And I enjoyed all the paneling work that Gavin Godry did. Like this specific 2-page spread is beautiful. Ryan North as well treated it with such care. Specifically, like he could have really gone comical, and he does have some jokes here and there, but it does still feel like the Flash is upset, and he's dealing with a very important problem, which it is. It's a bomb, right? And if it goes off, you know, Central City is gone. So I like how it was handled. The person was taken care of as well, and you know, the villain or the person who put the bomb, he was motivated because if he destroyed the gold that was around the bomb, then he was going to control a lot of the gold supplies and stuff. So he had his motivation and everything, and it makes sense. But what I enjoy the most is just the Flash as a character, his interaction with his family, his interaction with Captain Cold. There's just something positive about him, and I love how Ryan North, evokes that, right? In all the books that he's been writing Fantastic Four in this book, it does feel like he wants to bring back that sense of positivity with the characters. A lot of the books nowadays feel kind of bleak, especially some of the other ones that we're going to discuss later today or later down the review. And this one does not feel bleak at all. Like, you genuinely feel the love and compassion that this book has. It just feels nice. It's a really like feel good book. So I gave this issue of the Flash 33 a B plus, and it was my number 6. Next, we go into number 5, and that is Feral, issue number 23. Can't read Roman numerals like that. Another issue where we split half feral, half stray dogs. We're still at the I don't even know, like the CEC, I guess. They've been captured by these doctors that are trying to test them and trying to figure out like if some of them have been infected by this illness, and like I think some of them are also being subjected to the illness to see if maybe they can build some sort of defense to it. So us as readers, we don't know if these doctors are good or bad. We get some hints here and there, like the dogs think they're good because they smell like good people, but the cats, based on what they have seen, they completely feel a certain different way about them. So it's interesting seeing like the different perspectives, seeing the perspective from the dog, seeing the cats do their thing, and at the end, at least for the cat portion of the story, one of our characters, Elsie, she kind of gets subjected to the vaccine, right? So is she going to turn like how the previous cats that have been subjected have turned, or is she going to survive? So that was crazy. But regardless, I thought the story was good. We're kind of gearing up to the finale of this story arc, which should be big. I mean, we're bringing Stray Dogs and Feral together, so something big is bound to happen. And yeah, I'm excited. I think this is the biggest threat that they have faced so far, and it definitely feels like the stakes are high. So I gave this issue of Feral a B plus, and it was my number 5. So now we're at the top 4. Number 4 is Escape, issue number 7. Glad to have this series back. This is so good. Very underrated. I don't know if you guys have been reading it or not, but definitely go to your comic stores and pick this up. I'm not a huge fan of war. Real life war, even in comics, I'm not a huge fan of war. I liked it in history class because there was like a sense of realness to it, and I feel like whenever we see it in comics, they don't kind of capture like the horrors of war, but this book does it so well. Daniel Acuna on art, wow. Like, I feel like I never appreciated him when he did Marvel back in the day, but he has some of the best artwork in his life, I think, in this series. Everything feels so cinematic. The level of detail, like the paneling, everything about this, even the coloring. I don't know who the colorist is. I think he might color it himself. Such a great job. You feel exactly what's gonna happen. The explosions, everything about it just looks great. So good, so good. And our main character, whose name is Milton, he's this bear. He basically launches a solo attack on this military base. He tries to destroy this big weapon that they have, and he ends up doing it. He succeeds by himself, and he gives faith to the insurrectionists. Is that what they're called? Like the people that are trying to rebel against this military leadership, right? Like the bats. So he met this guy and his son in previous issues, like the first story arc, and that person comes back to help him because after he sees the explosion, he feels like, oh, we might be able to turn the tide on the war, right? Like, if we start revolting from within right now, the military forces are looking weak, so we might have a fighting chance. And that's because Milton kind of risked his life, and he did that. And so good, it's so good. You feel the high stakes for him because he's trying to come back to his wife, but at the same time, he personally feels like he's not worthy enough to keep living, if that makes sense. And that's how war makes you feel sometimes, right? Because you see so much death that you feel like, oh, maybe I should not be the one that's surviving all of this. So a lot of great things come from this series. I'm telling you, like, this is so good. It genuinely is so good, and I've never expected to be into this type of like genre like that, but this has completely exceeded my expectations, and I'm recommending y'all have to get this. So that's Escape, issue number 7, and I gave that an A, and it was my number 4. And yeah, it was my number 4, so you can see like all the books this week were very high quality. Okay, so top 3. My number 3 is Absolute Wonder Woman, issue number 20. Another great book as well. The art always blows me away. This is the ending of the story arc with Satana, and Satana and Zatara, they end up escaping pretty early on in the issue. The whole issue is basically about Diana getting captured by this Iron Maiden, which was sent by Veronica Cale, I think that's her name, which has been her adversary in this whole series. So she plans on... I don't know what her plan is, but she's torturing Wonder Woman. I think she's trying to draw blood, so at the same time, she can use that blood to fuse Barbara with Cheetah, it looks like. So we might actually get the Barbara Cheetah that is meant to happen, right? Because we know that in the main universe, Barbara Minerva is Cheetah, right? And we haven't seen her beat Cheetah in this series yet. We've seen this other Cheetah that died within the last couple of issues. So it looks like they were planning on using Diana's blood to somehow give Barbara Cheetah's powers. And honestly, they probably end up succeeding because we all know that Barbara is meant to be Cheetah. So that's going to happen. And I'm intrigued to see whether she becomes a foe, like how she usually is, or if she becomes a friend, which would be a change. And we know that the Absolute Universe is not afraid to make changes like that because in Batman, we see like the whole Rogues Gallery essentially be his friends. So we'll see what happens. And at the end, she gets dragged out of her being hostage, because back in the previous issues, we've seen her make this promise to Persephone and Hades that I think for a month she's always going to return and visit them. Regardless for where she is, she'll get pulled and they're going to have her for a month. And initially it didn't seem like a big deal, but in moments like this it does seem like a big deal, because now she can't go back and save her friend, right? So she feels despair, and all of a sudden you see her kind of lose control because she feels like she has nothing that she could do in the situation, right? Like, she put herself in the corner and now she has to deal with being under Persephone's and Hades for this 1 month. So beautiful issue. It's really gearing up to some incredible things. I can't wait to see her either beg for her forgiveness, or is this gonna lead to Cheetah or Barbara becoming Cheetah, and like, is she gonna understand that Wonder Woman had to leave her, or is she gonna use that as an excuse to become her adversary? So super excited for the next couple of issues. This series never disappoints, and that's my number 3. I also gave that an A. Next is my number 2, and that's another DC title. It's Superman issue number 38. Super fun. I've been enjoying the series so much. Never in a million years would I have thought that Superboy Prime was going to be as compelling as he's being written now. So this issue, he comes across Witchfire, which in the previous issues we thought she was going to be a villain, but actually it turns out she's a hero, and she needs his help because there's this evil force that's coming to Metropolis, and she needs his help to destroy them, in which ultimately they end up teaming up to do so. And we have this beautiful, incredible Dan Mora art here. You see them team up here as they're fighting against these creatures, which ultimately, because of Superboy Prime, they end up defeating. And you see that this girl, Witchfire, she might actually be a sort of love interest for Superboy Prime, which is an interesting twist, because I never would have thought, just from that cover alone in the previous issue, I would have thought that she would have been just like a one and done kind of thing, like he defeats her and that's it. But the twist that apparently she's a good guy and they might have something going on romantically, I thought was really well done. In the cliffhanger, we see him being pulled by Manchester Black, I think that's his name, Manchester Black, to the Time and Infinite Crisis, right? Which is when he all of a sudden went crazy and turned on everyone. So he's getting pulled back into that moment, and we'll see how he reacts, because we know he's been trying to be on his apology tour, trying to make a name for himself and show people that he's not bad, how they think he is, right? So really enjoy this series. It's been so much fun. If you haven't been reading it, definitely give it a shot. Such new reader-friendly content right here. You don't have to know much about him. Every issue has been explaining more and more, and I've been becoming a fan. It actually feels very unfortunate that Superman might be back. Like, I hate to say it, but I wish he took longer because I don't want to see Superboy be kicked out of the series, right? Hopefully, we're able to find a solution and maybe Superman Unlimited becomes about him. We'll see, but excited for what's to come. Such a good series. I gave this an A, and it was my number two. Okay, so we're at that 1 hour mark. What was my number one? Believe it or not, some of y'all might have expected it because I'm sure this was your number one too. My number one was Exquisite Corpses, the final issue. I don't have the numbering here just because it's a variant, but I do think it's issue 14 if I'm not mistaken. Issue 13, the ending of season 1. So we finally get the final battle. It's Massachusetts against New York. We know that the lone gunman was taken over by, I believe her name was Laura. She was the EMT. And Aubrey, who is the mom of the kid that survived, she all of a sudden snaps and she becomes enraged. She kills Lady Carolina, and then she takes up her sword, I believe, or someone's sword, and now she's representing New York. So it's New York against Massachusetts. They have a battle where we all know what's going to happen, right? We kind of suspected it. Massachusetts wins, but not because the lone gunman ends up killing Aubrey, but rather because Aubrey ends up sacrificing herself because she snaps and she notices that, like, hey, you know, if you don't kill me, then my son is dead. Like, I have to do this. Like, I have to die because if I don't die, like, you know, this was for nothing. We're all gonna die. And she notices that she has to be a sacrifice, so she ends up dying, and the first season of Exquisite Corpses ends, right? You can see how quickly they dispose of everything. Each body is being treated as if it was nothing. Here we see the Fox character, the one that had the pink fox mask, and we see that all of them are just being disposed of, being thrown away. All the bodies and the carnage that happened because of this event, it's being cleaned up, and they give the EMT and the kids, they give them money, different identities, and they're like, okay, what you saw, never talk about again if you want to be okay, because you know, stuff like this is going to happen. It's out of your control. Just enjoy your money, and that's pretty much it. And at first they agree, and you think, okay, they're just going to move on, but clearly there's so much trauma, there's so much like emotion associated with this that we know that they're going to come back. And pretty much that's what it hints at towards the end, where Shavi, who was one of the survivors, he ends up telling them, like, you know, we can't leave, like, we have to come back, we have to have some sort of revenge for what happened to our friends and family. And I believe her name is Lori or Laura, the MT. She agrees, and she's like, yeah, you know, we need to do something. And then it says to be continued in season 2. So we'll see what happens. I genuinely enjoyed it. Everything that I suspected to happen was going to happen, but I'm glad it wasn't as straightforward as I thought, right? From the get-go, I knew that Massachusetts was going to win just because I can't picture a world where, like, New York or someone else would have won, right? I think at that point, they were probably going to shift the focus to, like, what the world would become under their rule. So I knew that Massachusetts was going to win. Now, I don't think Massachusetts is going to win the next one. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next season. But I did like the setup here. I like how at the end, it wasn't even the people who were in the initial bracket that ended up being the final contestants. So that was a good twist. And Aubrey, seeing her descend into madness, it makes sense, and it's such an interesting character arc that I cannot wait for them to adapt into film or movie, because it's going to be great seeing that, right? Like, it makes sense that she became crazy because of what she saw. She was subjected to so much death that, like, that really messes someone up. So it'll be interesting to see how her son reacts, because we haven't seen much from him. He just lost his mom, so, like, obviously that's gonna mess him up as he grows up. And he also witnessed this whole entire night fallout, like, you know, killers everywhere and stuff. So yeah, I'm intrigued. Like, the tension, the setup is there for season 2, and I'm excited to see what's to come. This was such a good series. If you have not read the series at all, I think within maybe the next 3 months, you'll be able to get the second trade paperback. We should collect this issue and definitely give it a shot. It's such a good series. Horror has been reinvented in both film and comics within the last couple of years. And James Tynion, don't know how to pronounce his last name, he is responsible with some of the best horror titles out there. And I think within the next 10 years, a lot of his work is going to translate over to media. Like, it should already, but I know that within the next couple of years, they're going to adapt a lot of these things. And I know this is going to be one of it, because such a good 13 issues that we got here with Exquisite Corpses. I think it would work better as a TV show, if we're being quite honest, but I'm excited to see it come to the film or TV in the future. James Tynion just has a great eye for stories to tell, and intriguing stories to tell, and how horror has been reinvented with the last couple of years. I know this is going to be included in the next wave of reinvention. So super excited for what's to come. This issue was so good. If you're not picking it up, pick it up. Thanks everyone for watching. I know this crossed over the 1 hour mark, and next episode I promise to be quicker. I just really wanted to dig into some of the books, and there's a lot to talk about, so please feel free to comment. Let me know down below what you thought in some of these books. What was your favorite pick of the week, and what was your worst pick of the week? Definitely we will discuss some of the comics coming up next episode. So thanks for watching. I will catch you all in the next one.